Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas released a 2-minute video directed at those seeking to enter the United States illegally through the southern border. Mayorkas says they could be expelled under Title 42.
The restrictions at our southwest border have not changed. Do not come to the border. Do not put your life at risk, only to be sent back.
Mayorkas also says those entering illegally who cannot establish a legal reason to remain will be removed. He points out that border immigration officials are managing historic numbers of people fleeing hardships. Mayorkas also warns that the number of illegal immigrants crossing the border could increase over confusion from court orders and misinformation from smugglers. Our next guest, Congresswoman Yvette Herrell, represents the border state of New Mexico. The state also shares a border with West Texas, where the tragic shooting that killed 19 children and 2 adults took place. The Congresswoman joins us now. Congresswoman Yvette Herrell, thank you so much for joining us on the Capitol Report.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Congresswoman, you represent part of the state of New Mexico, which borders West Texas, where this horrific shooting just took place yesterday. How close to home did this hit for you and the people of New Mexico?
Yeah, it's a complete tragedy, and our prayers and thoughts are with the families and obviously the community. And it's just so sad to see something like this happen. So we're certainly lifting them up in our thoughts and prayers today. And I know it'll take several weeks, months for them to recover, and we just want to be with them in every step of the way.
Congresswoman, the person who actually killed the shooter was a Special Operations Border Patrol agent, from what we understand. Do you think that these tragedies can also shine light on our law enforcement folks and first responders?
Sure. I mean, you hate to see these type of tragedies occur, but it really does. And it just, a testament to how important not only law enforcement like sheriffs, typical police departments, but what an important role are Border Patrol agents to keep our communities safe.
So I do want to switch gears a little bit and ask you about the situation on the southern border, since you do represent a border state. A federal judge just issued an injunction not too long ago to keep Title 42 in place. Could you tell us what exactly this means now for the southern border?
Well, certainly it's a huge relief. And as you know, Title 42 is really the last tool that we have in the toolbox to help our Border Patrol agents control that southern border. So I'm very thankful that the judge ruled in favor of keeping it in place. Now, I understand the administration is going to appeal that, but this is so important for the American people, and they understand Title 42 gives those agents the ability to expel those coming to our borders illegally back to Mexico or Canada. And when we're seeing the numbers that we've seen over the last couple of months, I think there were over 200,000 people encounters in the month of April. That's the highest number on record. We have to give our Border Patrol agents and our communities in and around the border the tools they need, and certainly Title 42 is a very important one.
Congresswoman, you have visited the border multiple times. Could you give us a sense as to what the border agents are saying that they might need right now outside of Title 42 to stop the flow of illegal immigration?
Yeah, it starts with needing leadership from the top. Morale is terrible on the border, as you can imagine. They are underworked. There's not enough people. We need to provide them all the tools they need, whether it's technology, finishing the wall, stop the catch and release, give them reinforcements, and help them to do their jobs to protect our sovereignty. But it's really sad to think that, here Secretary Mayorkas is saying we have operational control on the southern border when you can look at all the photos coming across the networks. You can talk to any Border Patrol agent and they will tell you we do not have control. And no one's talking about, the amount of fentanyl coming across, the #1 killer in overdoses in our young people. We need to be serious about this border security and securing the southern border and provide the agents everything they need to help them do their jobs. And they are such a vital role in keeping our country safe.
We saw a Democratic congressman last night from Texas in a very blue area, Henry Cuellar, do pretty well, even though he's taken a pretty hard stance on border security in terms of wanting to secure it. Does that give you a sense that this is actually not a partisan issue?
It should never have been a partisan issue. I mean, this is a people issue. This is about the people of the United States, our security, our sovereignty. And I'm actually glad that a number of Democrats over the last number of weeks have finally stepped forward and said, they do not want to see Title 42 go away. And here's the reason: because 70% of the American people understand the importance of Title 42. I think it's fascinating that suddenly, just 6 months before elections, that we all of a sudden have this grave concern when we should have been dealing with this when the administration first took over and then stopped some of the policies that were working under the Trump administration. But it should never have been a partisan issue. It needs to be a people issue, and we need to push forward on Title 42 and other necessary tools for our agents and for our surrounding communities.
Congresswoman Yvette Herrell, thank you.
You're welcome.
Members of the Energy and Commerce Committee grilled the FDA commissioner on the baby formula shortage on Wednesday. America's largest supplier of formula, Abbott Laboratories, was shut down in February after federal health officials found bacteria at the facility. This left many parents scrambling to find formula for their babies. Some members said the crisis was avoidable because a whistleblower had given early warnings about unsanitary conditions at the Abbott lab. They also say there should have been planning for pandemic-related supply chain issues affecting baby formula.
It was totally preventable. There were growing strains on the domestic supply of formula in the months leading up to the reported infant illness and the subsequent recall of Abbott products, but the recall itself turned the U.S. formula supply into a tailspin.
Republicans were particularly critical of the slow response from the FDA and the Biden administration.
Where was the Biden administration plan to deal with what should have been a foreseeable event?
As the United States grapples with the severe baby formula shortage, the FDA approves formula from the UK. Shipments have already begun with an expected 2 million cans of formula to become available in the coming weeks. And the CDC is warning American travelers to practice enhanced precautions as monkeypox spreads worldwide. Agency officials also say the virus is not easily transmissible through the air. Monkeypox is a viral illness in the same family as smallpox that spreads through sustained skin-to-skin contact or through infected materials like clothing or bedding. The CDC has recommended that travelers avoid close contact with dead animals or sick people, including those with skin lesions. According to the World Health Organization, the disease is common in several African countries, but it's now been found in about 15 countries outside of Africa, including the United States. A Maryland man is facing federal charges for impersonating a U.S. Marshal. The Department of Justice says this isn't Antoine Tuckson's first time impersonating law enforcement. He's been allegedly doing it for 15 years. He was charged in 2006 for impersonating an officer in West Virginia. However, those charges were later dropped. Then 3 years later, Tuckson was arrested in Washington, D.C. on a similar offense. In this latest incident, the Department of Justice says Tuckson attempted to arrest 2 patrons who disputed their bill. This while he was working as an armed security guard at a Maryland restaurant. He falsely said he was a U.S. Marshal to justify his unlawful possession of a firearm. Tuckson is in jail awaiting trial.